All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, a Texas judge's decision put a halt, at least temporarily, to Obama's executive order on immigration, and we'll see how that plays out with the funding of Department of Homeland Security. But you know all about DAPA? Well, we're going to find out all about DAPA, and joining us now is Brian Zimmer, president of the Coalition for a Secure Driver's License. Hey, Brian, welcome back.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, DAPA. This was not an executive order issued by President Obama. This was put into play by the Director of Homeland Security.
Right, the Secretary of Homeland Security issued the memorandums that set that out. However, he didn't issue regulations.
So talk about what DAPA is and what it means, what it does for illegals.
It's called Deferred Action for Parental Accountability. The premise being that many people, millions of people, are here because they came to visit their children who were here legally through some sort of immigration status and then simply overstayed their visas. It's very unlikely that 50 and 60-year-old parents cross the desert.
Yeah, I would imagine not. So they overstayed their visas, and now what? They get to stay indefinitely?
And work.
And work.
And work.
And get
right.
benefits.
They will be eligible to file for 3-year tax returns based on whatever imagination they may have to apply to that purpose, because technically, of course, it was illegal for them to work those 3 years. So if they then recover, so there'll be a $24,000 per person payoff on this, and various organizations are already lining up to run that through.
And vote?
Well, that's thereby hangs the tail. Last week, there was a House hearing expressing great concern in government oversight reform because, unbeknownst to the public, the Election Commission normally doesn't issue rules, but they issued a rule that now anyone can use a federal form no matter what local state requirements are regarding citizenship, and the federal form only requires a Social Security number and a driver's license. How's that a fascinating coincidence?
Yes, very big coincidence. So what we have here, I mean, this is going forward.
Unfortunately, it seems to be going forward, yes.
And Congress, can Congress defund this or try to defund this the way they are threatening to defund the executive order by the president?
They can only defund part of it. Most of the funding for the immigration process that's conjectured here, but again, they haven't issued the regulations, and that's the main reason Hannon stopped them, was he said, you violated federal law. Federal law says you've got to issue regulations before you start something. They were going to start it this week, or last week, with no regulations. In other words, they got to sort of make it up as they go along, and Judge Hannon actually said that in his
it was a clerical matter. He didn't rule on the merits of the order or the law. He ruled on they kind of administratively blew it.
Well, they didn't blow it. They knowledgeably did not follow the Administrative Procedures Act. The Department of Homeland Security and Jay Johnson are experts on the Administrative Procedures Act.
You would think.
Well, he wrote the one that that changed the law in the Defense Department. That's where he was before he came to Homeland Security, legalizing homosexuality in the military. That was his claim to fame.
It's a nice little closed circle of people, isn't it? So you know, and what gets me is this is all happening except for people like you and some Republicans, but it's happening under the radar for the most part.
I think the problem is competency. I think the Republicans have demonstrated their incompetency to understand what the president's doing. He's simply much more clever than they. And well, they don't read the rules. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Boehner couldn't be interviewed by you right now about what DAPA or DACA is. They're just meaningless acronyms to him. So
well, that's
sorry to say.
That's extremely frustrating. I mean, obviously it's extremely frustrating. Yeah, talk about the driver's license. It seems like every other day I'm picking up you know, a story where another state is giving driver's license gladly and happily to illegals, and that just leads to them taking advantage of, like you said, being able to vote, being able to work, being able to do everything an American citizen who belongs here could do. Correct?
Yes, in the broad sense, but it varies by state. Some states limit the driving license they issue, strictly speaking, a driving privilege card. It says on the license, not eligible for federal benefits, not eligible for voting, not eligible, so that if they were to present that, for example, to register to vote.
Sounds xenophobic to me.
Well, seems reasonable since the laws, generally state laws, restrict it to citizens.
Yeah.
California having the most California, Jerry Brown, Governor Moonbeam, the most permissive, which makes their driver's licenses legal for identification within the state of California but nowhere else, but it really screws up the whole concept of national reciprocity and free travel for people, because now you have different categories
Right.
of people with driver's licenses. It makes the law enforcement job much more difficult.
I can't even imagine. Yeah,
But that's the main reason our organization is concerned, is it really makes administration of coherent traffic laws, driving laws, car registration laws.
Right.
Right now, an illegal can get a driver's license in California, drive to Pennsylvania, register his car, and live in Pennsylvania.
I mean, a driver's license used to be a driver's license, but unfortunately, well, look, keep up the great work, keep educating the public, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, and by the way, this is, where are the Republicans on this issue and on so many other issues? But this is outrageous, and he's right. I don't think John Boehner could tell you half of what it means, if maybe even a quarter. We're coming back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax Television. Don't go away.